My name is Miquela Craytor. I'm the Executive Director for Sustainable South Bronx, and I'll just give you a brief overview of the organization and our approach and how that relates to the South Bronx Greenway. You know, our story with our Greenway in the South Bronx actually starts with an abandoned lot that was actually owned by the city, but at the end of that lot was this river. We were able to work with the community and other organizations to clean this up, and now it's this beautiful park. And what it really generated was the inspiration of there's a lot of possibility here. This park kind of became the anchor to the larger system. This greenway will be 11 miles in length once it's completed. The construction starts finally this spring, but this is one of the first phases of the project. It will connect the South Bronx community to the other parts of Manhattan through the Randall's Island connection. Randall's Island is a large recreational space, and essentially it's all parkland. Essentially underneath this, which is an Amtrak line, will be a dedicated bike and pedestrian way that folks can ride safely and not navigate all those trucks and cars to Randall's Island. And again, what's incredible about this is that it's giving tremendous amounts of accessibility to other larger green spaces, and it's really giving safe access routes. The psychological barriers, everyone knows there's lots of truck traffic. Over 60,000 trucks come into this community on a weekly basis. We have the second largest food distribution center. So why would you want to be outside if you know there's all these big tractor trailer trucks? So it's really important when we start thinking about the Greenway is about safe pedestrian routes and biking routes. But the first phases of the project, which began construction this spring, really are in the core areas of the residents. What's incredible about this project is we're really working closely with our other partners that are working on other greenways in New York City, particularly the Bronx River Greenway. So our South Bronx Greenway will actually connect it with what's just above it to the north along the Bronx River. And essentially that will connect us to Westchester. And the other larger hope is that it connects to the whole Eastern Trails Greenway network. We've had very little green space in this community. A lot of those health disparities. But at the same time, people kept talking about jobs. And we've actually created a job training program. And we started this shortly after we began our Greenway work in 2001. We created the job training program in 2003. And the program is really focused on restoring parks and building trails and maintaining trails. But, you know, we're targeting folks who live in the South Bronx or come from neighborhoods just like it in New York City and giving them the sort of hands-on training. Our students get certifications in tree climbing, water quality assessment, soil remediation, and we're placing them in jobs. What's incredible is while the Greenway's not built, and we've been training people since 2003, these folks are kind of embodying that network of volunteerism and believing that we can restore our own communities. So why am I talking about a Greenway if we don't have anything yet to really point to? Aside from the park, we don't really have anything to show. So we've tried to create a lot of different informal and formal activities to feel the emergence of the Greenway. So that's come through a series of events such as our block parties where we've engaged the community, you know, getting kids familiar with bikes, donating those bikes, having raffles, and again, working with partners across New York City who are interested in getting more folks active. When we hosted the block party, we identified a block that, you know, someone who's really a pillar of the community recently passed away. And so the family was really touched by the fact that we chose their block and honored the woman who was such a well-known leader in the community. We've also started a 5K run. It's been incredible because it's a great mix of runners both from the neighborhood as well as folks from across New York City. We actually found one of the gentlemen who owns a small automotive repair company. He's like a huge marathon runner, and he's, you know, just around the corner. He brought in like 20 people. So there's amazing assets, but you wouldn't necessarily know typically because, again, this is a, you know, predominantly a very auto-focused neighborhood is a business community, and yet there's this great asset that's actually supporting some of our other efforts. So, you know, part of our work is really uncovering and connecting with a lot of groups that we have not traditionally connected with because, you know, they would be seen as the business side and wouldn't be supporting the Greenway. And that's another element I want to highlight. We've really done our homework and working with the business community to understand their concerns and to the extent we can mitigate those concerns and ensure that as we identified where the Greenway should go, how should we, you know, ensure that they still can run their businesses? Because again, those 60,000 trucks aren't going away because this is getting built. So we didn't want them to get in the way of this being built. So we had to make sure that we worked with them actively. So those are just sort of small little things that really end up creating a real investment and buy-in to these larger projects. Because I'll be honest, we have tensions about, is this greenway a good thing? People are afraid that something good happens means they won't be able to live there anymore. We're not going to be able to live it. It's not for us. And it's like, no, it is for you. So having these events, informing people in a variety of ways between the block parties, our 5K, run, walk. So we've tried to create ways that are approachable and not a lecture series. One other incredible thing we did this last spring is when we started looking at the street furniture that's being contemplated for the Greenway. Again, there was a lot of tension about unwanted activity happening on these benches. The neighborhood Hunts Point or the South Bronx, there's a bit of notoriety there for ladies of the night. And so the issue of benches is very contentious. And a lot of folks said, we just don't want them. And meanwhile, this Greenway is so that people hang out and enjoy themselves. So we were able to engage a local university, a design school, and worked with some designers to think about benches. It was incredible because the process was essentially, we talked about the politicized element of street furniture. And we had conversations with folks and focus groups, if you will, of both youth and adults and a range of ages. It was incredible. We came up with these sort of sustainable concrete benches that are almost, they look like cupcakes. And we're creating opportunities for local art. And this community has a real strong history in art. And again, what's incredible is that, they're cupcakes, so they're not long benches, so it's not going to be so comfortable to sleep on them because it's just like a stool, if you will. How do we create local ownership? And so the conversations we had went from no way to let's make it ours. Let's make it and let's own it. We want to make it personalized for our neighborhood. And again, some of the other elements we're doing with the job training side, and they're excited that we're doing something positive. So there's a lot of goodwill, even though, again, we haven't put a shovel in the ground. And, our approach really has, again, try to look at the local needs, how to be realistic about the concerns and issues. You have to look at the local values and really be honest about those and find ways to address them as you look at these larger, best practices. And, I'm really proud of the work that the organization has done because we've been realistic. We've been real with ourselves and real about the barriers and the challenges that confront our neighborhood. And, what's great, too, is that it's a lot about connecting the dots. In hosting the 5K, we ran into the fact that there was a local running club for, kids under 15. And some of the best runners were those 15-year-olds. It's an incredible organization. I'm really honored to be part of it.
Thank you.